Hello and welcome to the Fan Pub. If you knew how many times we do this intro, you'd be amazed.
Yeah. It's all we do. Now that we've got it right, we can stop. Brilliant. That's it. What are we doing today?
I don't know. I've lost the.
You've lost the will to live. That's what happens
know
when
where
you're
I
in a
am.
hot room trying to churn out content the way we do. So, who is it today we're looking at there now?
We are looking at Jared Goff. He's going at ADP 97.
Yep.
QB 12 overall.
Yep.
I think he's somebody.
Year,
He put up good numbers last year.
He certainly did. Went over 4,000 yards. Yeah, good touchdowns to go with it. What's not to like? What's your thoughts?
So why are people not sold on Jared Goff? Why, if he's
glad
put up these good numbers, he got drafted, very high.
Tendencies, I think that's the word I would use. I think the problem the Rams will face, we kind of hinted at it in the last video, that things have to go correct for him to continue with this, right? I think he's, sometimes you hear the words float around the NFL quite a lot, but you have to be a bit cautious with this. So they often say a system quarterback. I think he is a system quarterback because I think it's McVay's system and he's his quarterback. And Jared Goff isn't somebody that I recognise as an individual unique talent.
Didn't they level that at Brady being a system quarterback? He's done alright, hasn't he?
Well, I think that's
slightly.
I think it's slightly different because at the beginning, yes, he was, but over time, and this is where I'm going with this, he matured into a player they could trust. Goff is at the moment a system quarterback. Can he mature into a quarterback you can trust in time? Maybe. We're going to find out over the next few years, but at the moment, he's still a product of the system. The issue with everything like that is that we still don't see, or I don't see, the uniquenesses that Goff brings to the table. Some quarterbacks have certain unique traits about them, and you can pick that up quite quickly and think, oh, that's really a strength of theirs. He's very okay, really okay at most things. The mechanics are sound. Everything about the way he plays the game is pretty good. Pocket presence is okay. Nothing exceptional. Footwork's all right. Nothing special. Nothing that stands out. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad, because we've seen quarterbacks thrive in systems. That's what happens. But I worry that the tendencies that he has, and there are some tendencies, can be picked out. I began to notice this. I noticed New England had noticed this by the time the final came around. My big concern, I told you, was, I think we mentioned this before, I'm really concerned it was going to be a poor final for the Rams, and it was. And I felt the tendencies of this guy was a main contributor. Now, obviously, the running game wasn't there on the day, and we now know why. But take that away, New England had worked out the tendencies. Other coaches, coordinators...
So what are you talking about then? What did they notice?
Well, what they noticed was that without Cooper Kupp being in the lineup, which we've already talked about in the previous video, and if you haven't seen that, go and have a look at that. And if you get a chance to see that video, then go and have a look for his tape on his recovery and his previous work. Look at the eye test that he matches. He was Goff's deep weapon. He was Goff's X factor, if you will, in that offense. He was the ability of a guy who could break. Some players thrive better when they're told to run a certain route, and then when it breaks down or looks like it's about to break, they're able to quickly change direction and find the soft spot of the defense. He has that skill, Cooper Kupp, in spades. He gets separation. He's like Julian Edelman. He's like that kind of player type where they just know how to pick a defense apart, find that gap.
I mean, Edelman was almost uncoverable in that
He
Super Bowl.
was. He was
ridiculous.
He
they just couldn't stop it.
Absolutely deserved.
They knew it was coming. They couldn't stop it.
He blew the Rams' defense apart by basically finding soft spots that he didn't follow the traditional route. So if your corner can't adapt, he's open. And that's the gift that Cooper Kupp has. Now, that was great for Goff, particularly as a young QB, to have a player that can do this, because as the play breaks down, he's your X factor. He's the player you look for. Now, you've also got, obviously, Pro Bowler, Gurley, who's also got great hands. So if another outlet valve for you. But as the season went along and near the end of the season, Gurley wasn't there. We now know why that is. And that does have question marks. And so I feel quarterback coordinators are going to use what they learned in that Super Bowl massively. And unfortunately for the Rams, this is the worst bit. There's a lot of tape. That Super Bowl, so most watched game, is going to be a real question about why we fell apart. And people are going to use that information, and they're going to look at his tendencies. And I always feel when I look at him, I think he actually two things I really don't like the way he quarterbacks. The first one is I know the snap count watching him play, and that's ridiculous.
And if you know that,
if I'm picking that up, so
it.
if I'm saying to myself, oh God, he's going to throw in 2 seconds here, it's going to be a 1-2 and it's gone, or 3, or it's going to be a drop back and it's going to be 5 seconds. That's the hope. Because it's a longer play developing. And your defense knows. Hang on, they're looking for a deep throw here. So this is this is so obvious to read, and once you get to that point, and I really worry them for the quarterback. You've got to show some moxie, so you've got to trick the defense. You've got to be able to sell it that that's the play, and then one quick change, and one player only knows it's an audible. That's how you fool the defenses in the modern NFL. But I don't think he has any of those things about him, and that really worries me. And this ADP, if we talk fantasy, it's solid enough. There's nothing wrong with him being quarterback 12. I mean, that's about right. In a small league, 10-man, 12-man, he could be your second quarterback, or you could really wait and maybe he could be one of your two quarterbacks. Sure, no problem. But in a large league, if you're dependent on him...
Yeah, but he's going QB 12. He's not going to be your second quarterback, is he?
Well, in a large league, no. 14 and 16 team league, he should arguably be one of the first off the board, one of the first. And would you trust him to give you those numbers again? I'd be concerned for some of the red flags you raised in the previous Cooper Cup video. You have to be slightly worried about this, and I wonder what the coordinators will do. I just think there are some real keys.
There is a plus, though.
Yeah.
McVay, in his short coaching time, he's pulled off a lot of, I'd say, masterstrokes. He's got some good players in.
I like the Rams' chances of repeat.
He got them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I do. Funny enough, I do like the Rams' chances to repeat, but for it to work, there are a few things that have got to click. Firstly, we've got to see Cooper Kupp's got to be back from this injury. There's a question. It's not. I like what I see, and I'm very high on it. We've both spoke about this before. I don't mind if Gurley's not all the way back and it ends up being Henderson's load. I can live with that. I've got a funny feeling this kid could fly in this offense. He could be extremely good for this season.
But even if they got both fit and they both
get work, it could be it could be like the New Orleans Saints backfield, Ingram and Kamara type, where actually Gurley becomes more of the Ingram type, and
now Latavius Murray Kamara.
Yeah, type. Henderson becomes more of the Kamara factor because he doesn't need a lot of touches to thrive, I think. So the Rams certainly have some good pieces, and it's not bad. 12, it's okay. I wish it was a little further back because I think that mitigates a bit of the risk for me.
Where would you be happy taking him?
I'm not taking him at 12, so that's...
Where would you be happy taking him?
He'd have to fall outside the top. He's got to be 20, 21 quarterback off the board for me to be safe.
That's pretty damning then, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't like him there at 12. I don't want him at 12. There are other quarterbacks who are way underneath him, who I think...
Jameis Winston?
Well, you could make an argument that Jameis Winston and him could go head-to-head. Jameis has thrown 2 4,000-yard campaigns. A lot of people like the weapons that have gone around him. We faced a little bit of heat regarding... what we thought the three quarterbacks. We've got some people saying yes, bang on, and some people saying, yeah, I think Winston's got more weapons around him. I take that argument.
I mean, Winston has got the weapons.
He's done it before. He's done 4. But so you could easily say he's got an opportunity to out duel.
The video is last chance saloon, so the chance is there. But he's got to take it this year. If he doesn't, then they're probably going to move on, aren't they?
Definitely.
There's 2 or 3 nice quarterbacks coming in next year.
Goff's good. I mean, I like Goff. I like him a lot, and I've seen videos on him. And if you haven't, there's one video well worth watching. I think it's a real insight into the man's psyche, which is about Jared Goff pranking college kids as a walk-on QB. Tells you a lot about the way his mind. Very, very funny, great acting actually from him, and he really plays the part very well. And I think actually he's a quiet leader in the locker room, and that's okay. So I do think there are some things I think I like him.
It's like when he tells them to run a route, and then he like
overthrows it by 12 yards.
Just this guy's got an arm. Yeah. And he says to the other quarterback, the normal one, he said, "What are you, the punter?"
Yeah, it's hilarious. If you get a chance to see it, it's well worth seeing. But he's a really, really naturally funny guy, and that is a good leader in the locker room. That can be a really strong presence, because sometimes quiet demeanour as a quarterback is actually more powerful. So
I mean, this will be music to some people we draft with, like Gordon. He loves Goff.
I
mean, he actually loves it.
I totally understand that and get it.
So he does have his fans.
But I'd just like to see the AD from a fantasy perspective. I'd like to see the ADP.
Well, for you, I mean, it's all about.
And it's not being greedy; it's just reality. Because there are other quarterbacks I would elevate above him, and have elevated above him, because I believe in the ball.
But you could take later.
So I can take later, and I don't have to reach for him, because I'm going to have to pay this man's last year's without doubt.
A top 100 pick, it's quite.
Because once the quarterbacks start moving, he's going to be one of those that some people will pull the trigger on and think that there's another great campaign in there, and there could be, and I'm not denying that. It really could.
Going after that, you've got Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, Ben had. You got to be logical here. I mean, look,
Winston's going before him.
How can Ben be rated behind Goff when he had 5,000 yards? Passing.
Yeah, I suppose he's lost Antonio Brown. He's another year older.
Yeah, you could argue
he's missed a few games.
The one team that shuffles the pack. I do worry a little bit, but the one thing I don't worry about is the throwing. I mean, I might worry about the running game, but Ben will just keep. I mean, he's a
flat track bully. He's home.
Yeah.
his home performances are miles better than
without
on
a doubt.
the road.
But he's one of these guys. If you had to make a prediction, would Ben Roethlisberger out duel in standard scoring Goff this year? You'd have to say yes, and probably by 4 spots. I mean, you got to give it to Ben there. I mean, that's what these sort of things always.
So I
worry
have
me.
Winston going QB11, Goff going QB12, and Ben Roethlisberger going QB13, and then just behind that, Dak Prescott 14.
I'll take Dak over him as well. I would never have a problem taking Dak this year. I feel he's woefully undervalued. That's a great pick there for him. I think don't have a problem with him. He showed something that none of them have done for a while, which is he was really on the verge of losing his job. There was real talk of a lot of heat facing Dak, and then what did he do?
Wasn't anyone to come in.
No, but it faced a lot of pressure. Fans were starting him out, and there was things going on, and then what did he do? Got it all together and looked like the Dak we know.
They gave him a good wide receiver to
made all the difference. So it proved the point. It wasn't him. It was being surrounded by weapons and people to throw to.
Well, that's an interesting point, you see. So what Snipe was saying with, Jameis Winston has got the weapons now.
Yeah.
So he's got all the things he needs to succeed. Goff's got 3 good weapons and a running back.
My argument for Jameis is I totally get that point about being, he's got the weapons. He's had weapons. And you've begun to woefully disappoint. So I'm really worried about him in terms of you are right, it's last chance saloon. No matter what anybody says, his rope is actually quite short. Six bad games.
But he is capable of putting it together.
He could do it. He's done it before. But I like Dak out. I got a funny feeling Dak might finish ahead of all those guys this year, just based on.
Well, maybe we'll do a video on him in a bit.
It could well do. Be very interesting. All of them are serviceable. All of them are serviceable quarterbacks, but there are some you would depend on more. Would give you bigger boom games. I just think Ben will give some big games. I think Dak will have some big games this year. There's something really to like. Jameis has the weapons. We'll see how it plays out for him. But I think those two are much more interesting to take. If you're in a pack, quarterbacks, I wouldn't mind a share of either of them. That'll do me. That'll keep me relevant.
So there you go. I think pretty much from what Sean said, he's not a buyer of Jared Goff.
Not at the price, no.
No.
And
I probably wouldn't be either.
I'm a Rams fan, but not yet sold until I see more from him. Bit tendencies, just a little bit too.
I'd be happy to wait a bit longer and take one of the others. I think.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, what do you think? So, are we missing something with Jared Goff? Is he one of those players that just isn't very trendy, and he's probably underrated because he put up the points last year. So.
Yeah, and he could.
So why doesn't he get the love?
He could take another step forward, and then it's a re-evaluation for next year, and I'll quite happily put my hands up to him. But I'm not worried. I mean, his ADP is okay, as I said at the beginning, it's okay. But it's just there are other players behind him that I'm happier to take, to be honest. And that means, by definition, I can take them later, which by definition is good because I can load up more.
Well, there you go. All right, if you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you've enjoyed the series.
Yeah, I will always comment, subscribe, and your comments do make a difference. We do take them on board, and we do act on them.
And we will cover the players you want to know about, so let us know. Thanks for watching.